Well, good morning, everybody. I want to welcome everyone this morning to our District Leadership Institute and our presentation for the Secretary webinar. This has definitely been an unprecedented time, and we're sorry that we are not able to meet with each other socially and in fellowship, but we are going to do the best that we can. And I'm excited for all of you today. To hear what we have from our presenters. We have past Council Chair Nanette Burdick this morning, along with Region Chair Terry Schlossler. Before we begin the actual webinar, I want to also welcome our District Governor-elect Frank Rowe and Lion Paula Roswell, who will be working behind the scenes on the webinar. If you have any questions, you should see a little question box on the toolbar there. You can type in a question during the webinar, and Paula will periodically interrupt the webinar and offer those questions to our presenters. There will be breaks in the PowerPoint presentation where questions will also be asked of you. We have a limited 90-minute time, so at this point, I am going to welcome our District Governor, Diana Grisey. She'd like to share a few words with you. Everyone else, enjoy it. Governor.
Thank you, Past District Governor Keith. Hello, Lions. It's so nice to see all of you, and I'm happy that so many incoming officers are able to participate today. Thank you to Lion Past District Governor Keith for putting together this webinar and for serving as GLT coordinator this past year. I'd also like to thank District Governor-elect Frank for technically setting up this webinar with the help of Lion Paula Roswell. Thank you, Lion Paula. And to all of our experienced Lion presenters for participating today. Where there is a need, there is a Lion has certainly held true in this extraordinary time. I'd like to thank you all for your innovative ways of serving safely. This is a new way of training, but I think that it's one of the positive things that have come out of going through this pandemic. Excuse me. Change can be hard for some of us, but being forced to use other means of communication, social media, we have moved into the future. It gives more people the opportunity to participate, and people might be more apt to take on positions or roles that they might not have felt that they had time for before. I hope you consider continuing to use social media. We have great presenters today, so sit back, relax, and pay attention so as not to miss any of the helpful information. Thank you for your support and service this year. I'd like to congratulate District Governor-elect Frank as incoming governor, and I believe we will have a successful year under his insightful leadership. Hope everyone has a great summer. Stay well and safe. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Governor. All right, at this time, I am going to hand things over to our presenters. Take care.
Good morning. Next slide, please. Well, as you can understand that this seminar is for secretaries, and we welcome you all. We thank you for taking the time to virtually attend today's training. I'm here with my, I guess you'd say, my partner in crime, Region Chair Terry Schlossler and PCC Lion Nanette Burdick. And we're happy that you could join us today. Next slide, please. We need to know about our attendees, okay, and your background. So we're going to take a small poll, and it's going to be quick enough. And Lion Frank, could you advance us to the next slide? Okay, have you been a Lion secretary before? Would you kindly answer that? Lion Frank or Lion Paula, whenever okay. You feel that we could go to the next slide. Okay. Oh, wow. So we have 57% of you have not been a Lion secretary before. Wow. Well, good. And those that have, 43%. I think we can safely say that you will all benefit from this experience today. Okay, let's go to our next slide. How long have you been a Lion? Please select one of the choices there at the bottom, 3 choices, less than 5, between 5 and 10 years, and more than 10 years. Ooh, okay, well, that's quite a bit of, all right. So we have Lions here, less than 5 years, there's 42% of you. Between 5 and 10 years, 29%, and more than 10 years, 29%. Good mixture. And we can all learn in this process, no matter how long we've been a Lion. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to get on with the structure of Lions Clubs International and your role. Individual clubs and their members are at the heart of the association, as we probably all know that. As secretary, you are the liaison officer between the club and your district, as well as the association. And without your commitment to serving others locally, we could not maintain our legacy of global service. And your position as secretary of your club is one of the most important offices in the club. The success of your club will be determined largely by the efficiency by which you perform the duties of your office. Next slide, please. As secretary, you are the business manager of the club. You coordinate with the president and the board of directors. You are the president's right hand. And under the president's direction and that of the board of directors, you are the liaison officer between your club and Lions Clubs International, and between your club and your district governor's organization. You will receive many communications from both. So through you in the post of corresponding officer as well, it will be your duty to see that all communications are properly referred to your board of directors or your club as circumstances require or justify. So, who are the board of directors, you may ask? Let's go to the next slide. And on the board of directors, the most significant is you, the secretary. Then your president, your immediate past president, and that person also may be designated as an LCIF coordinator. You have your vice presidents, your treasurer, your membership chair, your service chair, which is a newly created position, marketing and public relations chair, and lion tamer and tail twister are optional to be on that board. In most cases, I've seen that happen in many of the Lions clubs across the district. I know as a member of the Mystic Lions Club, we open up our board meetings to all our membership, but all those that I had spoke about are usually attending our board meetings with the optional of the option for the tamer and the twister to be there. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, your position to keep the club running efficiently is extremely important, because as the club business manager and the member of the board of directors, your primary responsibilities include the following: organizing club and board meetings, attending all club and board meetings, monthly and special, recording meeting minutes, keeping club records, receiving and responding to club correspondence, completing and filing all club records with My LCI, reporting club service activities on My Lion, and we will speak to My LCI and My Lion shortly, and cooperating as an active member of the District Governor's Advisory Committee of the zone, frequently called zone meetings. Some of you may be familiar with that, and those that aren't, you will hear more about that. And I just want to remind you that you provide this important information to support all the business operations for your club and your board meetings, and maintain the club roster and member contact information, as well as support the club service and social activities. Next slide, please. The following is a common schedule of meetings throughout your tenure as a secretary. The monthly meeting, not all clubs do the same thing, I want to say. I mean, we do have board meetings on a regular basis, that's true, and club regular meetings. For example, my club, the Mystic Lions Club, holds 3 meetings a month. 2 are regular meetings, and 1 is a board meeting, of course. The club meeting, special meetings under as needed, such as in my club when we are holding our largest fundraiser of the year, which is our annual wine tasting event. We call for special meetings to see how things are progressing and their committees are progressing. So for us, special club meetings would be something in that area. And your annual meetings is usually your officer transition or meeting or installation of officers. And occasionally a club will have a charter anniversary you might want to include in your annual meeting. Next page, please. Okay, so before the meeting, you want to provide to your members in advance of your meetings, of course, the meeting date and the times. And you need to send out, in this case, what we're doing now is, now that we're utilizing Zoom meetings, our president sends out a reminder with a Zoom invitation to the membership meeting and also the board meeting. And then the secretary sends out an agenda in a separate email. And of course, this is all in conjunction with your president. And any correspondence from LCI is announced with the secretary in my club, but we do have any community correspondence announced by our corresponding secretary, and then usually in a regular meeting setting, we would have that information passed around the room to each lion in attendance. To prepare awards or new member kits if necessary, you definitely want to pre-order, at least have a couple of kits handy in case you have a new member being inducted during the month. And I know that district governors will always carry a new member kit with them, at least one, I know for sure, as a past district governor. And I would say to you all, make sure that you do at least have one new member kit on board at your meetings, because it may become necessary at the time for a district governor to induct a new member. And I would say give them the courtesy of knowing that you want a new member inducted at that meeting. And then of course, you're going to prepare your club roster for taking attendance. Most important, as I was discussing this with Lion Terry, that as a lion in my club, we have over the years taken attendance, but since our attendance, most of our members have retired, and then some of them are now members at large. Sometimes there's not a need to take attendance on a regular basis, but I still think it's an important option for you, because if you are presenting your 100% member attendance your membership attendance to a member, you might want to make sure that you're keeping accurate records of attendance in your club. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, what you see in front of you is just a sample of a meeting agenda. I know that some of us, maybe they're not always in the same order as you see here, but maybe some of us are doing our welcome, and then we have our 4-point opening, and then we do introduction around we do our welcome, we do our 4-point opening, and then we do our member introductions, and then we do our secretary and treasurer's reports, and then any correspondence. Like I said, everything doesn't always go in the same order, but this is just a sample of a meeting agenda that you could follow. And be sure to have any committee that is represented there to report. Now, I will say that we have in Mystic, we have a Mystic Lions Club meeting, and right a few minutes after that, we have our Mystic Lions Club Foundation meeting. So some reports are completed at one meeting, while others are completed at another meeting. It may be, as I said before, it may be a little bit different for each club. However, the agenda is here as a sample for you. Okay, let's go on. And this next example, this is a sample of an attendance record. And next slide, please. Thank you. You can generate this attendance record from MyLCI, which we'll be covering a little bit later. And it will be able to help you provide, how to generate this report. So again, I say there are a lot of things that you may not be doing the same as other clubs. However, again, a good rule of thumb is to make sure that you do have an attendance record in case you are awarding 100% attendance. Okay, let's keep going. And Lion Terry, how are we doing on time? Are you there? Okay, I can see we're 19 minutes after. All right, so a little bit of humor to put in here. During the meeting, it says here a motion has been made and seconded at this one, this is one of those meetings where nothing actually gets done. We can joke about that, but there are times that we just come for the social aspect of Lions clubs, which is fine, but you really do want your membership to be listening to the president and those officers or those committee members that have something to report. So although it be a social hour at times, it really is important that you understand that there is information being exchanged during a meeting. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide, please. All right. So I can't say it enough. During your meeting, you're taking attendance. You're recording your minutes. You're also document any guest speakers, whether they're non-Lions or visiting Lions. Non-Lions would be people from the public where they're coming in to speak about a certain topic. We had someone recently that came in to speak to us about financial planning, and you want to have, well, somebody in the club should be introducing them, as well as you recording the information. And then any other non-Lions that could be visitors to your club, and our visiting Lions, which most likely will be one of our chairpersons, like our clerk chair or our diabetes chair, or especially our district governor. So you want to record that. Now, it says here, collect and record dues and give members receipts. Not every club or not every secretary collects dues and gives members receipts. So in some cases, there are secretary treasurers that will do this, that will perform this duty. But most of the time, it is the treasurer's responsibility to collect and record dues and give members receipts, as well as membership cards. Okay, and gather activity information from committee chairs. I would suggest that in gathering information from committee chairpersons, that they give you some type of a report for your record keeping, so that you have a summary included in your meeting minutes. All right. So let's go on to the next slide, please. After the meeting, well, more info about it, self-explanatory here is that, of course, you're going to record attendance again, and you want to record awards presented at your meeting. It could be some kind of it could be a recognition by your president, or some type of a recognition by a district officer who may come in. There may be an award, a special award that's presented at that time. You need to record that so you can keep track of what awards have been presented in your club. For example, not only do you get certificates of appreciation presented to some of your members, but on occasion we've had during some of our regular meetings where our president has presented a Knight of the Blind or a Melvin Jones Fellow. And of course, we also have ambassadors of sight. And so these you want to record not only in your minutes, but if you're keeping an accurate record of awards presented, which we do in our club over the years, we know who received what award and at what time of the year, or when it was recorded for that year that you're secretary, or recorded for the time that they were awarded. Again, verifying money collected and record payment of dues. I still feel that that is mainly the treasurer's responsibility, but if you are a secretary treasurer of your club, you'll definitely want to be doing that. So, file, distribute a copy of the meeting minutes. Yes, of course, you want to file that in your club files, as well as be able to distribute a copy of the meeting minutes to the membership. Now, our club secretary, right after the club's meeting, sends out and distributes the minute meetings via email. And at the following meeting, we also get a paper copy. But of course, now in these times that we're living in, you definitely want to make sure that each member gets a copy via email, if that's possible. If they don't have an email, which I find very unlikely in these days, but you may want to mail a copy to them. Okay, and follow up on any outstanding issues from your meeting. I would say that that would be if a committee has to give a report of how things are progressing. For example, I used earlier our wine tasting event. We always have some type of a follow-up to that. And the outstanding issue would be whether or not we're on schedule for bringing in our band, or our or touching base with the people that are donating food and things like that, So that type of a follow-up on any outstanding issues from our meeting would be something in regard to committee reports. Okay, so we're good. Let's go on. We're at now slide 17, please. Typically, minutes will record, and this is just so self-explanatory, a type of meeting, your regular, special, or board, of course, the date and the place of the meeting. The name of the person presiding over it. Sometimes your president is not available. Maybe your first vice president or one of your vice presidents is presiding over the meeting. On occasions, we've had our immediate past president presiding over a meeting. So be sure that you do record who is presiding over the meeting. Name of all attendees is important, again, I say, for 100% attendance award. So make sure, and I can't say it enough, that you do record your attendees. Whether you put that report out with your minutes is up to you, but you do want to have that on hand. Whether previous meeting minutes were approved, and obviously, as I will reiterate what I said on the previous slide, that in most cases these days we are putting out the minute meetings shortly after the meeting has been completed, and that they had been approved. So you want to include that within your minutes, that a motion was approved and who the movers were and whether or not the motions were sustained or carried or approved or on hold for another time. So we've had that. We've had to hold a motion until a next meeting. Let's say when we didn't have a quorum at this particular meeting, but at the next meeting we have a quorum where we can vote on that motion and either sustain it or not. So the time the meeting was called to order and the adjourned time is important as well. It just kind of gives you an opportunity to remember how long your meeting went. It may get a little wordy at times, we understand that, but we'll go on to what is supposed to be recorded at these meetings. So let's go to the next slide, please. So what type of discussion, if any, should be included in the meeting minutes? Well, the minutes are meant to record what the club does and not what the members say. Now, you know, you have all kinds of conversations going on there, but, and what you really want to do is just record what the club has done, all right? And you want to record whether or not you have passed a motion on a particular item. And if there's any debate, it's considered informal or not recorded. So we usually don't do that. And it's probably a good rule of thumb that you have your meeting minutes are not too wordy. And there's a case in point. Okay, proper terminology such as grammatically correct language and spelling is important and encouraged. We say that because you have a number of people that are reading your minutes. You want to make sure that you're clearly understood. And occasionally, I mean, I can joke about this, but there are some in my club who will point out that you weren't grammatically correct, or they misunderstood what you were supposed to be saying or what you thought you were saying. And we can joke about that, I'm sure, but, and I will say that as a former educator, I really like grammatically correct things, but you know, the fact of the matter is that you want something that is well understood in your meeting minutes, excuse me. Okay, so acronyms should be defined for new members, because if you have a few members in there that are new within the last few months or so, they don't know what a PDG is or a PCC is or LCI means or LCIF means. So you have to explain to your new members and define what that is. LCIF is Lions Clubs International Foundation, and what it's meant by that, what is meant by that, and LCI, of course, Lions Clubs International, and what a PDG is as a past district governor. You know all this stuff. So you may have some acronyms in your own club. Make sure that they're defined within your minutes. And when you send out your minutes to all the club members, I would just put in parentheses. If it says LCI, just put in parentheses, Lions Club International. And after a while, people will understand what the acronyms are. Okay, good. How are we doing on time here? Good, 11:31. All right, let's keep going. We're on to our next slide. We're on to slide 19 right now. The club secretary receives a lot of correspondence, and this correspondence comes from LCI. It could come from LCIF. It comes from other sources throughout the multiple district. It could come from your district governor. It could come through, and when I say multiple district, it could come through your global leadership chairperson. It could come from your global leader, your global membership chairperson, your council chairperson, or any other district governor that has information to share with your district. District 23C most likely will be information from your district governor or any chairpersons. It could be from your vice district governor or governors. It could be from like your clerk chair or your kid site chair or whomever. But make sure that that information is shared with your club and any other clubs for that matter. There might be special events going on across the district, our District 23C, or even the multiple district. And most importantly, anything that pertains to training and events and special meetings, you really want to get that information out there, especially on the training events, because training events don't just happen at the multiple district, or excuse me, at our district 23C, but also at the multiple district. And there's also opportunities through LCI. Correspondence include as a separate agenda item. This information may come electronically or through post and involve the president, treasurer, committee, and or project chairpersons. And as I mentioned earlier, our corresponding secretary receives the mail from our post office box and will help us understand what's come through the mail and what kind of events that are happening, or even some thank you notes and such like that. It's important that all correspondence is open, read, and distributed in a timely manner. There may be things out there that some of your membership is interested in, and maybe some that's not. But make sure that it gets distributed as soon as possible. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on. Moving on to slide number 20. And in slide number 20, it's strongly recommended that the club secretary and president discuss how correspondence will be answered, kept, and reported. I say that because sometimes we receive donations to our club. You want to get a thank you note out as quickly as possible. The secretary also needs to connect the club to our District 23C communications. We want to get correspondence out to our district doings chairperson, who will post any kind of event you may have coming up. For example, our wine tasting gets posted every year out there. We may have a special chicken barbecue or something. You may have a pancake breakfast coming up. You may have a 5K run. Be sure that you get that information out to district doings. Any kind of district directory updates, if you are a club president and or secretary, I should say you as the club secretary and your club president should be aware of any updates as to the officers of your club. If you have to change a phone number, email address, or even the change in officer's position. And then of course we have the Lion's Tale. The information you want to have published in the Lion's Tale will need to go to the Lion's Tale committee chair as well. And you will find all that information listed in your district directory. And one is put out every year by your district governor. In that district directory, you will find many areas of communication, such as the district doings, district directory updates, and the Lion's Tale, which is our monthly newsletter. Or sometimes it's a quarterly newsletter. In some clubs, the secretary is responsible for a club newsletter and is integral to the club's public relations. And let's just bring up the next slide. Not every club has a newsletter. However, I would say that it's a great way to kind of toot your own horn within your club members, and even out to the district if you have something that you want published. Again, go back to the district doings for that, and you publish it in your newsletter, but make sure it is also published in district doings. This particular one was from the Clinton Lions Club, and they used a Microsoft Office template to make a newsletter. There's no need to reinvent the wheel for your newsletters, so I would use that template if you can. And it's not necessary. We don't consider it a mandated item, but if you want to have a newsletter, it would be wonderful. And I think that it's quite informative to your membership that may miss a meeting or two, and any members at large that may not be in your district area, living in your district area. They may want to depend on news from your club in that manner. Okay, let's keep going. I'm trying to make sure that we get through this so that my colleague, Region Chair Lyon Terry, has enough time to present hers. So this slide is obviously for thoughts and questions. If you have any thoughts or questions that you may want to pose to either myself, Lyon Annette, or Lyon Terry, you can do so at this time. If not, we also welcome your questions via email. You have both email addresses for Lyon Terry and Lyon Annette, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And we really do consider it a privilege to be here today to be able to help you understand more about your responsibilities as a club secretary. Nope, I don't see any questions right now. So we're going to move on to briefly discuss the Secretary ebook resource. So it has been recommended in the past to download the Club Secretary ebook. It's a PDF, and you can store it on your computer desktop for easy access, as well as have a printed copy in your possession, so that you can reference specific materials by clicking on the links provided in your downloaded version. I tell you, it's a great resource. I have used it and utilized some of those areas where you can just click and download the information that you need. It's a great resource. You will benefit from that greatly. I would say that much to you. In this particular, okay, that's okay. Let's go on to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, and where do you find that? A way to obtain the Secretary's ebook, you go to Lions Clubs International. So you go to www.lionsclub.org and bookmark that in your bookmarks. And then you would click on Resources for Members and find Resource Center. Another way would be to use the magnifying glass search for Club Secretary, and it's actually very user-friendly. You can't miss. You will find this information very easily accessible on the Lions Club's website. All right, how are we doing? All right, let's go on. I want to say that, where are we here? We're on responsibilities of club secretary also. So when you're going into the website at Lions Club and you see resources, you see key resources, you'll find the ebook. It's right there. It's just so easy to find and access. Download it, save it to your desktop, and then also print out a copy for yourself. You'll find other resources there that you may need as well. It's that simple, everybody, really. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. How are we doing? Good. If you still haven't logged in successfully to Lions Club's International Suite, you'll find the link in your downloaded version of the Club Secretary ebook. Well, I will say this much. You probably would have registered by now, but in that downloaded version of the Club Secretary ebook, you go to page 3 and click on the log on to My LCI and just follow the directions where it says register, don't have a Lion account, create an account today to access all our great tools and features. Then just click on register. Again, I say it's that easy. All right, so let's go on to the next slide. Using the downloaded version of the club ebook can be easy, so easy. So by clicking on the links, as I said before, you can easily access various reports and reporting links. And there's an example on page 4 that you click on report membership in My LCI. And Lion Terry's going to speak to this a little bit later about how to get in and to how to report. And here you'll find Lions Club's International Membership frequently asked questions as well. Just scroll down the page and you can review questions and obtain any answers. Again, it's that easy. And let's go on to the next slide. A little more self-explanatory as well. Report membership changes monthly. I can't stress that enough. And Terry's going to talk about this a little bit later too. It is suggested that you access your My Lion account for reporting membership activity at the very beginning of each month, so as not to forget to report to LCI. Even if you have nothing to report, just go in there and click on the report. And if you need to just click on the report, no member transaction as well, and listen to the YouTube presentation on how to add, edit, and drop members. You'll be able to edit this report at any time before the end of the month. So just reference page 10 as well in the ebook. All I can say again is this is not rocket science. It's very self-explanatory, very simple to do. Let's go on to our next slide. Okay, so again, you may have some thoughts or you may have some questions. And if you don't want to take the time to ask us right now or send your thoughts, you can do that via an email to either Lion Terry or myself, Lion Nanette. So let's take a short 10-minute break. Give me a little bit of time to catch my breath, and yours too. Do a little potty break and maybe a beverage break. And then we'll, in 10 minutes, it's right now 11:45. We want to be back in that allotted time of 10 minutes at 11:55 so that my colleague can present her portion. And I thank you all. So we'll see you in 10 minutes. Terry, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So I
Very
timed
good.
myself.
Nice
I
job.
timed myself and I did well. Right to
You
45.
timed it.
Okay.
I didn't time mine, so I probably will go over, but that's okay. Hi, Keith.
What do you got? I can't hear you. Keith?
So you guys are still live.
We what?
You are still live.
Oh, we're still live. Okay.
Yes,
That's
okay.
okay. No
So if
problem. People know that we're doing what we're doing for them, so that's
you can
important.
take a break, but your conversation is still live.
Okay. Thank you
Okay.
very much. I appreciate that. All right, Terry, I'm going to take a break.
If some of you are back already, we're going to be talking about the ebook, Secretary's ebook next. There is on your handout portion of your screen, if you click your box, your red arrow to get the control panel up for the webinar, you can see that Frank has provided, Vice District Governor-elect Frank has provided the ebook here as a handout, and you could get it from there. So he has open right now page 3 of the handout of the ebook. And that's where we'll start when everybody comes back in about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Keith, how is my voice now? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. You hear me?
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I hope all of you had a chance to go take a break. There's so much to cover in the Secretary's report. We kind of hesitated in doing so, but I know it's near lunchtime. Some of you have been on the President's seminar as well, so we thought that would be a wise thing to do. Hopefully it didn't make people leave. Thank you for joining us this morning. I was a secretary a few years back, officially, probably even before my LCI came into being. And since then, I have dabbled in my LCI as a club administrator for the Portland Lions Club. Even though I'm not their secretary, I'm helping the secretaries out. They have had some personal issues to go through, so that someone needed to pick up slack. And so this is one way to do that. So it wouldn't hurt if every club president and secretary added a club administrator to their not a board. They're not necessarily a board member, although they could be. But for example, let's say you want some assistance, especially in the beginning of the year, with your My LCI. Perhaps your past secretary could help you do that, and so you would add them as a club administrator. And it's a very, very handy thing to have. They are able to make changes to my LCI as well as my Lion. And it's just a great backup to have. Some of you may not have heard me say this, but VDG Frank has put up under your handout section of your control panel, there is a PDF, the document that says DA-CSEB, Club Secretary ebook. So if you haven't found it, you can also download it from there and follow along with us. So I'm going to be in the next couple of slides just going over important topics that I want you to review after the presentation. And if you have a paper copy of my LCI, of the ebook in front of you, please star the following pages for us, or the following sections, and because they're very important. So page 3, the club administrator role. Page 4, which is there it is, how to report membership and so forth. But the family unit demonstration is very helpful. For example, we have several spouses in our club that husband and wives that are members, and you're going to want to consider them as connect them and on My LCI so that they will get the benefit of a break in their dues. So the second person gets the half 50% off on their dues. So you need to record those family units if they come in as new members. Hopefully that's already done for you from the previous secretary for existing members. But that's a helpful thing to know about because you have to assign who's the head of household and connect that head of household with any of their spouses, childs, etc. And don't be afraid to go in and just navigate and tour. And that's how I learned the most. It's just you have to spend a little bit of time navigating through this. There's a plethora of information on Lions Club International. All these resources are wonderful. You just have to know where they are. Also on page 5, membership application. So I think you all should have a copy of a new member application, and of course your membership chair should too, but in case they don't, page 5 gives you the membership application, and it's also on page 10. Page 7, here's where there's a hyperlink to update contact information for your members or information about how to do that. So star that. Star page 9. Right there where you see, go down a little bit, where you see the insurance certification required for activities. So it's a downloadable, it's a fillable, downloadable form that you can print out to provide the insurance certificate to whoever needs it, such as owners of property that you use for your meetings or events. They're going to need this insurance certification from our Lions Club International, and you have to input information of who you need to cover and things like that, who needs that information and so forth. So that's very handy to know where to get that. Page 10, there's question and answers, how to add, transfer, and drop members. How to log into My LCI, all kinds of good stuff. Again, there's the family unit. There's the membership application. Page 10 has quite a bit of good links there for you. And page 11, there's a membership dues, billing, and fees, a very helpful chart so that when someone comes in, like in the middle of the year, say in November, it will tell you what their dues will be from it, what International will be charging the club for that year, that part of the year. So it goes by month as well. So based on the month in which the new member is reported. So it's very helpful to have that at your fingertips. And if the treasurer doesn't know about that, share a copy of that with your treasurer. Okay, now we can go back to the slide presentation, please, Frank. So like I said, always go there when you're before anywhere else to see if that can be that can help you out and be a great resource. So we need to go to page 32. So this is what we just went through. This will be available to you, the PowerPoint presentation. We can either email them out or put them on our 23C website. We'll let you know where it is. Okay, so here we go. So many of you have logged in already because as our poll indicated, you've done this, this isn't your first rodeo. You've been a lion or a secretary before. But if you haven't, you can find the member login on our website, and it will give you, once you log in, it allows you to see or use the 5 suite. They call it your suite, or 5 systems or applications. Today we're going to be spending most of our time on My LCI. I'm going to touch on My Lion, and of course the shop is where you can find your club supplies. Insights is where you have club data, like what your membership growth has been, what your service activity has been, like it's there. You can get charts, handy line graphs and such, and what your donations have been. And I've already instructed you to go to the Learn section. Hopefully you've done that, to take the secretary training that they had available. Next slide, please. So, of course, this is the main page. Member login is what I have circled in red. That's where you would have gone to log in as a member. Also, there's a resource tab under our own district website, 23C, where you can find the login there. Next page, please. This is what it looks like once you press the member login. If you have never registered before, you need your Lions member ID number, which your secretary can give you, or we can even give you if you need it. Just email me and I can help you out with that, or one of us can. So click the green button. If you've already registered, of course, you sign in on the left-hand side of the page. Next slide, please. So you're going to be today we're going to concentrate on My LCI, where you can manage all your membership. You can create your club and your club profile, where you meet, how often you meet, your post office box, your address, and that type of thing. But every month, don't forget, you're going to be needing to, at least once a month, go into My LCI to report your membership, no change, or add memberships. Next slide, please. So as we said, the ebook is it has lots of links. It also has videos, and there are some YouTube videos if you want to search for that on My LCI how-tos. So this is where you update your club information, like I said, your meeting time, place, time, address, and so forth. You can even upload a club photo, we found. So that was interesting. We had never done that. For international to use if they need to for something. That information is what Governor Frank is also using now to generate his district directory. So it's so important to keep all this information accurate. You can actually, you'll see tasks and reminders. You'll see how to add and yeah, the next slide shows you probably a better view once you get in there. Your tasks are in the upper left-hand corner. Nope, 37, please, Frank. So your tasks, what to do, whether you're going to be entering any membership changes, officers, and so forth. The next, My Club, shows you the information that LCI has for My Club. My Info on the right-hand side, upper right, is just your information, your personal information, mailing address, and so forth, your emails and phone numbers. And then see those little check boxes in the bottom left, My Members. It shows you if you have reported for each month. There's going to be a little check, and if you don't have a check, it means you forgot to report, which is a no-no. Service activities no longer are on My LCI. It's going to be on My Lion, and you can look at what you have done, what you have put in there in the past, I believe. Next slide, please. So once the support panel up at the top is what you're going to be navigating through to show the many capabilities and options that you have. This slide is kind of difficult to see the details, but it will give you your Lions Club, your district, and so forth. So at least once a month, you're going to want to either add a member, and if you have any transfer or returning members, you can do that, or click on report no changes for the month. You must report one of these, and it's suggested you go in the beginning of the month and do it right away. And then if later you can make changes. If you have a new member coming in mid-month, you can always put them in later. But we won't be bugging you as zone chairs or region chairs to do this if you just report it at the beginning of the month. Next slide, please. Here is where you can look at each club. This is my personal information. You can either edit that information if someone moves, put in a new address. If someone has a new email address, you can change it here for existing members. Your home phone and your mobile phone are here. Now, one thing our Portland Club has done, and I think it's been very helpful, because you have to be a communicator of upcoming meetings and such, take the time and take each of your mobile numbers and do a group phone, what do I want to say? Like a phone blast, so that you can text people and remind them, gee, we have a meeting, you know, maybe on Sunday you say, don't forget, there's a meeting this coming Wednesday, club meeting, and or a committee meeting or whatever, so that you have, you can quickly communicate with your members, because as you and I both know, we get so many emails, you don't always read them in a timely fashion. So that has been very helpful for our club. Next slide, please. Okay, you can also view under My Lions Club your statement. And this is what your treasurer does have access to view and print off statements. I believe a copy will also go to your mailing address, but it will be quicker if you see your statements here, and you can get details, print things off. And so coordinate with your club treasurer. You know, make sure your bills are being paid in a timely fashion. Next slide, please. This is the most useful part, I think, of my LCI. Remember when PCC and Annette had said you want to get an attendance report? Well, you can just go to My Lions Club's reports, click on that, and it will give you the option of what type of report. An attendance report is one of them. It also gives you membership cards. If you can get some card stock, you can print off for each member, if they've paid their dues, print off a copy of a membership card to give them. And that also has their membership number on it. What I also like this reports or data download section for is to generate some club labels. If you have a mailing to go out and you want to mail, you know, maybe your invoices for the year, you can do a data download. Next slide, please. Next slide. There we go. So the data download gives you, go back one more, please. I'll be quick. I know I'm running out of time here. So it gives you all the things that you can, as secretary, include in an Excel spreadsheet. You can download to, it actually gives you a comma separated, a different type of format, and then you save it as an Excel spreadsheet. And then you can bring it in if you're savvy with Word document, Microsoft Office. You can use this to generate labels, to generate, you know, report headings, letter headings, and things like that. So it's very useful. Or just to get a membership roster for your club with lots more information on it. And you can also just do it for certain officers if you want, or the whole club. Next slide, please. So that being said, I'm going to emphasize again, you need to spend a little bit of time navigating through MyLCI on your own. Use your club secretary ebook. Now we're going to move on to My Lion, which a lot of you existing people probably need to know more about, or people who have been in Lions for a while. So you're going to be reporting your service. Now, next slide is going to tell us who can use My Lion. And there is a phone app you can download. Any Lion can download My Lion on their phone. And you can input an activity to publish an event to other Lions. It's a great way to market your club and your activities. However, only 4 members of your club, key members, can report that club service activities. President, your secretary, the club administrator that we spoke about earlier, and the new service coordinator role. They are the only members who can actually do the reporting for your club to Lions Club International. And once they report it, and you have to record things as well. You can set them up as drafts, and then you have to record officially, like send it to International. It will be added to their data. Next slide, please. What do we need to input to My Lion? So those 4 people should be inputting for every service or fundraising activity, the number of Lions hours you have put into your projects, the dollar amounts you have raised, if it's applicable, if it's a fundraising activity, and more importantly, the number of people we have served throughout our district. So that's what's so important to go to for everyone to see. Next slide, please. And this is what, once you get into My Lion, this is a general page that I printed out from my Portland club. It has, you can either, on the left-hand side, occurring projects, either past activities you can report or upcoming activities anybody can report. But there are categories such as service for each of our initiatives: service, vision, diabetes, and so forth. So if you see the little girl with the glasses there, that's for, of course, for our visions, any vision projects. There's our general service. Those are the shipment, the blue boxes, I guess. They have a little corny icons, but so for each project, we did thank you cards for our emergency personnel during the COVID-19. So we set that up as a service project. And we talked about how many people we had served and et cetera, and how many Lions hours we spent on it. I helped sew some of the COVID-19 gowns, so I put that in. We had an open mic night before COVID happened. So we actually publicized that at first onto My Lion, and then we also publicized it after it happened to report number of the funds that were collected. And we continue to collect used eyeglasses for recycling. I mean, it does take some time for someone to go get those boxes, to maybe put a press release out in the paper for it, to sort them out and get them ready for our eyeglass recycling extravaganza, things like that you want to report. Let's see. Next slide, please. So my suggestions for you for My Lion is, the secretary has so much to do, so many different jobs and roles to play, but you really should be handing this off to a club member, like a club service chairperson who has access to it and can make the changes for My Lion. You might want to consider asking your public relations chair to advertise future club events on My Lions to other district Lions or multiple district Lions. That's a great way to get the word out on your events. But don't feel as if, I know we said it was your responsibility, maybe oversee that it gets done, but don't necessarily do the inputting. If you have other people that that are willing and able to help, especially people who have relevant roles like the club service chairperson. Why is this reporting so important? Because, as I said, you want to record number of people served, funds collected, club service hours. Your totals are added to the association's website, and in many cases, the association uses this data in considering granting rewarding grants to our district or awarding grants to our district. So it's very important that we that your club activities get heard or get publicized. Next slide. Okay, so also you are a part, I'm going to shift gears now to talk about other things that you need to be doing as a secretary. You need to attend the zone chair, the zone meetings, which is called the District Governor's Advisory Committee. Like we said, you should go to about 3 or so a year, usually on a quarterly basis, usually before we have our cabinet meetings, so that we can share with our cabinet if you need any help along the way. That's the time to report that to your zone chair at these meetings. You can get your club presidents to come first, vice president, anyone's welcome. We often invite the membership chairs to come because one of the themes for the zone chair is membership. So it's really it's open, and you can invite anyone, or even if you can't make it as secretary, assign someone else to go for you. So it advises the zone chair about matters within the zone, within your club, and you can talk to other club members in other regions. It's so great to hear what other clubs are doing. And then you're going to be sharing the zone chair shares what they learned from that with the district governor and the cabinet. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, you can expect at least 3 zone meetings annually. So you want to exchange ideas regarding your programs, projects, fundraising, and any membership issues you have. It offers you a forum to establish cooperative relationships between clubs. It gives you the opportunity to meet other Lions in your area. And it allows you to toot your own horn, as PCC Nanette says, to share your club's accomplishments. It's a great way to share with others, and you'll be doing it probably in an online format for a while until we get out of our COVID. Next slide, please. So a year in review. I'm just going to show you what you've done in a year, or what you're going to be doing in your year. Next slide, please. So before you take office, or in the beginning, there are ways to prepare yourself. I think you have to do a click on the cursor for me, please, on this one, Frank. Sorry. Thank you. So you're going to attend club officer training, which you are here. So that's the great first step that you're here. You're going to meet with your current secretary to review anything outstanding or to assure a smooth transition. If you haven't yet logged into MyLCI, you need to do that, and you need to review our ebook and some of the resources on Lions Club International website. Please verify that all your information is correct on the club roster, so that we know. For example, the governor's visitations rely on a lot of that information for the club to know, where are we going for our visitation? Where do you meet? If it's at a restaurant, if we get to that, what time do you meet? Things like that. It's so important, and for each member to have accurate phone and email information, of course, so that you can correctly correspond with them and communicate with them. Next slide. On a monthly basis, you're going to be attending the board meetings and club meetings. You're going to be submitting your monthly membership report on MyLCI. Make sure you have any service activities reports on MyLion. You're going to be keeping records up to date You work hand in hand with the club treasurer and so forth. Respond and send out any correspondence. Thank you notes, of course, are encouraged, which is we mentioned before. And can we quickly go through the next slide? So I know I'm close to being over. Quarterly basis, you're going to be going to the zone meetings. If you have any delinquent dues or whatever, we have to talk about that. You might want to click again or next slide. After an annual election, you're going to be submitting your officer report. Definitely distribute information about our multiple district and international conventions. You're going to apply for 100% attendance pins for members awards and any club officer awards at the after the annual election. Next slide. A year from now, you're going to be in good shape. Of course, and it'll go by real fast. And you will be planning the next transition for the next secretary if you hand it off next year. Again, checking records for 100% attendance awards and so forth and so on. Confirming all files are up to date and ready for the incoming club secretary and have a smooth transition. Next slide, please. Here are your resources quickly. Next slide. Of course, the secretary ebook, YouTube videos, of course, lionsclubs.org, and our district website. And last, I believe, next slide. Lions Clubs International, always helpful when you call them, resetting passwords and so forth. And we're giving you a number and one of their many web email addresses. Okay, I think that's it.
Yay.
Congratulations, you made it.
Thank you, Region Chair Terry. I want to thank both you and Past Council Chair Nanette Burdick for the presentation. It was fantastic. I'm absolutely positive that our Lions are going to come away with a lot of information. I know there were a few questions that popped up. I don't know if we want to take at least one or two of those questions. I do want to give District Governor-elect Frank a few minutes for some closing remarks. Paula, do you want to throw one or two questions out?
I do. I just want to, Anna Marie said she is also available as a support for any new secretaries, and she loves working with my LCI. There were a couple of general questions, such as if a Lions Club is working with other organizations, should they put it in my LCI? And what's the usual downtime for ordering from Lions Club? Just general housekeeping stuff like that. Should you use Excel?
I just got a package from the Lions International shop, and it took about 3 weeks to get it to me. I ordered 100% attendance pins, so I know they are slower than usual. But the other question was something about should they put on LCI outside? I didn't quite get that. Outside.
Yes, if they're involved with, say, a soup kitchen doing activities, would they want to report that as the Lions activity, because the Lions are out serving?
Yes, absolutely.
And there was a question about, is it necessary to record board meetings?
You should have minutes of the meeting. Is that what they mean?
Let me ask. I'm assuming going forward, if clubs are going to be having Zoom meetings, it would be good to record those for future reference if anybody needs it.
Better yet, I would just have minutes of the meeting, because otherwise you're going to be recording perhaps some personal information that, you know, you may not necessarily want it to be recorded. Anybody else have something to say about that? Nanette, if you want to unmute yourself. Or Keith, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you should prepare minutes for all the meetings, including the board meetings. The other thing I think is important is to let the other club members know that those minutes are available, because not every member of the club will attend a board meeting. So to have those minutes available at the next club meeting so that your general membership is aware of what the board is doing is a good idea. Nanette, you're still muted, hon. So at this, okay. All right, at this time, again, I want to thank both Regent Chair Terry and PCC Nanette. You guys were fantastic. If the attendees have any additional questions, please reach out to both presenters or myself or District Governor-elect Frank. At this time, I'm going to welcome our District Governor-elect Frank Rowe for a few closing remarks. I want to again thank all the attendees for attending. Thank you.
Thank you, PDG Keith, and thank you to both PCC, past Council Chair Nanette and Region Chair Terry for a great presentation. You know, there's a lot of information, much of it's new for many of you, and thanks so much for taking the time to join us. I think you'll find it's going to be time well invested. Also, thanks to so much for all the leadership from DG Diana this year, who led us through a great year despite the obstacles and the challenges that we faced. We accomplished a lot as a result of her successful application for an LCIF grant, which enabled us to serve the communities with many urgent needs. The important thing here to remember is that you as secretaries are a key member of the club, that you really set the tone in many ways of the attitude of the club. And we'll be going through a lot of changes this year, but I'm confident that we'll have a great Lions year. And I'm going to address you as I did the presidents, since you are significant members. In the jungle, lions are not the largest or heaviest animal. They aren't the smartest or the most intelligent. By far, the elephant is the larger and the more intelligent. However, the lion is still king of the jungle. And the reason for that is attitude. As Lions, we aren't the richest organization in the world, but we have the advantage of being the largest service organization. We have taken on many elephant-like tasks, and we have been tremendously successful. We're able to do more with less because we are putting our resources in the capable hands of those Lions with great attitude. We have been consistent and a powerful force for our communities and humanity. We have accomplished so much since Melvin Jones had a simple idea of taking some small business organizations, band together, and do more for the community for the greater good. We have earned the respect around the globe for what we've been able to accomplish. We have succeeded through world wars, crashes, depressions, and other global turmoil. We are still succeeding, but we need to adapt to a changing world. And today is a great example. Although we may miss our coffee and donut breaks, it's still a great feeling to know that we are all united in our spirit of service. We are learning to adapt to the 21st century, and we must adapt. Think about the giants that we grew up with. Over the last centuries, giants who didn't adapt, such as Blockbuster Video, which was surpassed by Netflix and Redbox, Kodak Film, which was a giant in the film industry for so long, but couldn't keep up with the digital age, and Sears, whose product were and may still be in many of our homes. Our downtown and malls are still not, are not magnets that they once were. We have moved into our second century using the same model that we've used for the last 100 years. Our community service and our involvement are still mainstays of that model. However, our helping hands need to find new ways to reach out, and it's disappointing that we can't easily share a pat on the back or a handshake or a note of reassurance for those in need or gratitude to those who we serve with. My concern is that we're allowing our fears to affect our attitude, especially of technology. We often say that if you want something done on the computer or through social media, get a hold of your grandchild. However, how many grandparents have mastered Facebook and have used it successfully to communicate with their families across the state, across the country, and actually globally? How many youngsters have had to shift their programs because they found out that the parents are keeping an eye on them because they've started adapting to those programs? Our Lions Club International Vice President, Brian Sheehan, just mentioned in a recent webinar that the Lions are about 10 years ahead in the use of technology as a result of this pandemic. So that's one silver lining. But to many of us, we are succumbing to the misbelief that we were too old to do the service project needed in our community. This is more of an attitude than reality. In governor training in Chicago in January, I had the opportunity to meet two incoming district governors, one from New York who was 80 years old and one from Portugal who was 90 years old. There's also a misbelief that our young people don't want to serve. How many of you recall the movie Miracle Worker? Many immediately think of Helen Keller, who we all know was a powerful, positive force for the blind, the handicapped, and yes, she altered the focus of our organization for our first century, making a difference in countless lives. However, in the movie it was actually about Annie Sullivan, who was Helen Keller's teacher and friend. Helen Keller was frustrated by her inability to express herself. She frequently threw tantrums, and then that included breaking dishes and even slapping and biting family members. When she was 6 years old, she tipped over a cradle holding her baby sister. Helen's parents knew something had to be done. Annie Sullivan came into her life and through patience and perseverance brought order to Helen Keller's chaotic life. As a result, she gave the world a wonderful, powerful influence through Helen Keller. You are our Annie Sullivans. We all have some difficult Helen Kellers in our lives. It's time for you to recognize the potential in all our lions and those who would be great lions to patiently and persistently work with all of them to make them a positive influence on our community. You will be the example, you will set the tone, influence our lions and the community because you must have the right attitude. I look forward to working together this year to serve our lions as they are serving our communities. You are up to the challenge, and so are your lions. Give them an opportunity, and I look forward as the year progresses. Thank you.
Thank you, District Governor Frank. Again, this webinar has been recorded. We will make it available at a later time. Once again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join the webinar today. I hope you came away with some useful information. Again, any questions, feel free to reach out to any one of us. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.